All right, let's jump right into this. Welcome to this explainer, where we are taking a really deep, detailed look into a morning staple that is probably sitting in your refrigerator right at this very moment, the humble egg. But we're looking at it through a very specific lens today. We're going to dive into exactly why the physiological changes of aging require an urgent, yet honestly very empathetic update to how you prepare and eat your daily eggs. Listen, if you are over 65 or if you're cooking for someone who is, this is an absolute must-know breakdown. We are not just skimming the surface here. We are going to explore the exact mechanisms of what actually changes in your body as you age, and how 7 common, completely normal-seeming kitchen habits can suddenly turn dangerous without you even realizing it.
You know, there's a saying that perfectly establishes our entire focus for today, and it goes like this. A food safety habit that costs you nothing at 40 can put you in the emergency room at 70. Think about that for a second. As we get older, our biological margin for error just shifts significantly. It is definitely not that you've suddenly forgotten how to cook. It's that your physical defenses have fundamentally changed. We're talking about natural declines in your stomach acid, totally normal shifts in your immune function, and changes in the way your body processes bacteria. What all of this means is that those old kitchen routines you've comfortably relied on for decades, they can now carry hidden serious dangers. The eggs look exactly the same, they smell exactly the same, but the way your digestive system actually handles them is a completely different ballgame now.
So, here is our roadmap for today's explainer. Section 1 will cover nutrition mistakes. Section 2 is cooking risks. Section 3 gets into immediate safety threats. And finally, Section 4 is all about why eggs still matter. Okay, let's kick things off with Section 1, Nutrition Mistakes, the slow decline.
These are the mistakes that quietly work against you, slowly eroding your health over time without flashing any dramatic warning signs. And that brings us right to mistake number 7, throwing away the yolk based on decades-old cholesterol fears. For years, right, we were all told to crack the egg, carefully keep the white, and just toss the yolk in the trash. But doing that today, it is a massive nutritional error. Throwing away the yolk literally means you are instantly tossing out 94% of the egg's choline. And why does choline matter so much? Well, think of it as the raw material your brain uses to build acetylcholine. That's basically the chemical messenger that lets your nerve cells actually talk to each other. It is absolutely essential for memory, for attention, and for the muscle control that keeps you balanced and upright as you age. When you toss the yolk, you eliminate almost all of this crucial brain food before your fork even hits the plate. Plus, the yolk houses nutrients like lutein and xanthone, which directly protect your eyes against age-related macular degeneration. Not to mention, it's one of the few natural food sources of vitamin D.
But I know what you're thinking. What about cholesterol? Well, in a massive myth flip, the 2015 U.S. Dietary Guidelines actually removed the long-standing daily cap on dietary cholesterol entirely. Why did they do that? Because the scientific evidence simply didn't support the fear anymore. For the vast majority of people, eating whole eggs just does not meaningfully raise the bad cholesterol linked to heart disease. Now, let me add a really crucial caveat right here. If your personal doctor has specifically told you to limit egg yolks due to your own individual lipid profile, absolutely listen to your doctor. But for most of us, the yolk has secretly been the most nutritious part of breakfast all along.
Moving on to mistake number 6. It's all about the company your eggs keep in the pan. A standard, healthy 2-egg breakfast naturally has less than 2 grams of saturated fat. But that number can instantly skyrocket to between 8 and 14 grams just by cooking it in butter, adding a heavy glug of oil, and throwing on a big handful of mild cheddar cheese. To put that into perspective, the American Heart Association recommends keeping your daily saturated fat under 13 grams total for the whole day. You could literally be maxing out your entire daily limit by 9 a.m. without even realizing it. And this kind of damage is cumulative, quietly pushing up your LDL cholesterol and driving systemic inflammation over the years. The fix here is super simple. Just cook in a nonstick pan with a tiny little bit of olive oil, and swap that pile of mild cheese for a much smaller amount of a sharp, pungent cheese, like aged Parmesan or feta. You get all that big flavor without the massive fat load.
All right, let's transition into Section 2, Cooking Risks, the invisible dangers hiding right in our kitchens.
And this brings us straight to mistake number 5, undercooking your eggs, even when they look perfectly done to the naked eye. To understand why those delicious runny yolks are suddenly a problem, we really need to look at a biological process called immune senescence. It sounds complex, but it's simply the natural age-related decline in your immune function. Because of immune senescence, what would normally just be a rough, quick 48-hour stomach bug for a 40-year-old can very quickly become a serious, prolonged medical event for someone over 65. And that risk goes way up if you're managing things like diabetes, heart disease, or taking any kind of immunosuppressant medications. Your body simply has to work much, much harder to fight off bacterial invaders like salmonella now.
So the absolutely crucial point here is that color is no longer a reliable indicator of safety. An egg can look beautifully done on the outside, perfectly white and pristine, but both the yolk and the white must reach exactly 160 degrees Fahrenheit internally to reliably eliminate salmonella. At that exact temperature, the egg is going to be fully set. Listen, a firm yolk doesn't mean you ruin breakfast. It means you've completely guaranteed your safety. The best thing you can do? Grab a cheap food thermometer and use it for a week or two until you can really recalibrate exactly what done looks like on your specific stove. Mistake number 4 is invisible cross-contamination. This usually happens when the simple automation of a decades-old kitchen routine totally betrays you. Think about this typical morning flow. You crack a raw egg into a pan, you quickly wipe your hands on a dish towel hanging on the oven, and then you reach over to grab your morning pill organizer. Without even realizing it, you have just turned your kitchen towel and your daily pill box into hazardous transfer surfaces. And here is a fascinating yet really critical medical detail to keep in mind. Many seniors take morning medications, things like metformin, levothyroxine, or certain blood pressure drugs, right around breakfast time. These specific medications have very strict absorption requirements that can actually be disrupted by the microscopic food residue left on your hands. The fix is purely mechanical, but it requires breaking a habit. Wash your hands with warm, soapy water immediately after handling raw eggs. Every single time, no exceptions.
Now, let's escalate things to Section 3, Safety Mistakes. These are the immediate threats. Mistake number 3 is especially tricky because it is hiding right in the traditions, holidays, and family recipes we love the absolute most. I bet you have a recipe for homemade eggnog or Caesar dressing from scratch, maybe your mother's chocolate mousse, tiramisu, soft meringues, or classic cookie dough sitting in your recipe box right now. Well, what do they all have in common? They all harbor raw or undercooked eggs. Now here is a startling statistic straight from the CDC. Adults 65 and older account for roughly half of all salmonella-related hospitalizations. Half, despite making up only about 16% of the population. Furthermore, common senior medications like acid reducers, think of omeprazole for instance, can actually blunt your body's early gastrointestinal warning signals. That means a foodborne infection progresses much, much further before you even start to feel sick. And please remember, salmonella doesn't just live on the shell. It can live entirely inside a clean, uncracked, seemingly perfect raw egg.
But honestly, the great news here is you do not have to give up these cherished recipes. You don't have to change your family holiday traditions at all. The simple, brilliant fix is to just swap in pasteurized eggs. If you haven't used them, pasteurized eggs are just regular eggs that have been gently heated in a warm water bath to a temperature that's just high enough to kill the harmful bacteria, but low enough that the egg doesn't actually cook. They behave exactly like raw eggs. You get the exact same whip, the exact same texture, and the exact same delicious taste in your mousse or your eggnog, but with absolute 100% safety. Just look for them right next to the regular eggs at your grocery store. It's a total game changer.
Now, for mistake number 2, treating expiration dates as a mere suggestion. We really need to be stricter here. "Oh, I've eaten expired eggs for years and never gotten sick" is such a common refrain. I've said it myself. But again, as we age, your immune margin has narrowed. The natural protective mechanisms inside the egg itself weaken over time, making it easier for bacteria to multiply. So if you are ever in doubt, this simple float test is an absolute lifesaver. Just drop the egg in a bowl of cold water. If it sinks flat to the bottom, it's fresh. If it stands upright, it's aging, so use it soon. But if it floats to the very top, throw it out immediately, no questions asked. It floats because as an egg ages, the moisture inside evaporates through the porous shell and the air pocket inside expands, making it buoyant. This quick test is vital since, as we just discussed, an aging immune system or those antacid medications can heavily blunt your early warning signs of food poisoning. It's just not worth the risk.
Mistake number 1 is arguably the easiest to make because it usually happens when you're distracted, you're hosting, you're having fun with family, and food safety is the last thing on your mind. Cooked egg dishes. Things like big holiday cliches, summer egg salads, or Sunday frittatas should never sit out at room temperature for more than 2 hours, period. And if it's a warm day outside or just a really warm dining room, that safety window actually shrinks down to just 1 hour. After that, bacteria can rapidly multiply to completely unsafe levels, even if the dish was perfectly safely cooked initially. Because older adults naturally have less stomach acid, which, remember, is your body's very first line of defense against any ingested bacteria, this 2-hour rule is absolutely non-negotiable. If you're hosting, use chafing dishes to keep hot foods safely above 140 degrees, and definitely keep those cold egg salads nested securely in a bowl of ice.
All right, let's move into our final section, Section 4, Why Eggs Matter, the crucial nutrition we just can't ignore.
So, with all these newly updated safety rules, the strict temperature checks, and buying pasteurized swaps, you might honestly be wondering why we don't all just switch to eating oatmeal every morning, right? Well, the answer to that is profoundly important. As the saying goes, eggs done wrong or avoided entirely because of outdated advice chip away at exactly the things that matter most for staying strong, sharp, and independent. We absolutely have to unlearn the fear of eggs. Abandoning them entirely means losing one of our greatest, most accessible nutritional tools against a really serious condition called sarcopenia. Sarcopenia is the natural, age-related loss of muscle mass and strength, and it heavily accelerates after age 60. If you don't fight it, it changes your life.
To actively fight sarcopenia, your body desperately needs high-quality protein, and eggs are quite literally the gold standard. In fact, eggs score a perfect 100 on the PDCAAS. That stands for the Protein Digestibility Corrected Amino Acid Score. I know, it's a mouthful, but it is the absolute benchmark standard used by global nutrition scientists to rank protein quality. A simple, basic 2-egg breakfast gives you 12 to 14 grams of complete, highly usable protein, containing every single essential amino acid your body needs to rebuild muscle. And maintaining this muscle isn't just about looking fit, it's about practical things. It's about fall prevention, staying balanced on your feet, being able to easily get up from a low chair, and maintaining your absolute independence as you age. And crucially, eggs remain one of the most remarkably affordable protein sources available anywhere, often beating out chicken, canned tuna, or Greek yogurt when you look at the cost per gram.
As we wrap up this explainer today, I want you to take a quick mental inventory of your own habits. Which category of mistake that we covered today is sitting in your kitchen or in your recipe box right now? Are you still tossing the yolk because of outdated advice? Are you chronically undercooking the whites? Are you making your grandmother's amazing raw egg tiramisu for the holidays? Listen, the goal today isn't to make you fear your breakfast. Not at all. It's to help you respect it. Ask yourself what simple, small habits you can adjust today. Maybe it's just buying a $5 food thermometer or grabbing a carton of pasteurized eggs this weekend. These tiny changes mean you can keep enjoying your favorite meals safely, protect your hard-earned independence, and stay incredibly strong. Because ultimately, the question isn't whether your body is getting older. It's whether your kitchen habits are evolving fast enough to keep up with it. So what old habit are you going to break tomorrow morning?